and the dead were. How do I know the Scriptures is to be believed? Because Jesus Christ has told me so.
This is the Westminster Podcast. My name is Nate Shannon, and I am very pleased to be here with Tom and Damaris Otremba. Tom's a current student at Westminster you're doing your MDiv, Tom, right?
That's correct.
Anyway, let me say it this way. Cześć, dziękuję for being here. Wow. So happy to have you on the show.
How long did it take you to learn that?
I watched a couple Polish shows on Netflix, so I got 2 words down.
Oh my!
No, but welcome, guys. So glad to have you here.
Thanks for
Our
having us.
joy to be here. Thank you, Nate.
Yeah. So what I'm very pleased. We also go to church together. So
Yes, we do.
I can confirm to the audience that you're lovely people and you're a joy to be around. So Damaris already thinks.
not
It doesn't
expecting
sound very
that.
credible with,
Yeah.
with my wife laughing at what you just said.
Sorry.
That's right.
I was trying to be serious. It's hard to be serious with
Yeah,
Nate.
no.
Okay.
We
Sorry.
no,
I'm-
and that's just proof that we have a good time together, and you guys have come a long way to be at Westminster, but you've livened the place up, and our church as well. So we're really glad to have you on the show and to let the audience, the listener, the 1 or 2 listeners that we have get to know you. So you have at Westminster an uncommon background. Not only coming from Poland, but also, Damaris, your family, and Tom, your theological voyage and how you ended up here. But then, you're interested in serving the Lord in Poland, which is Westminster has not had a great influence in Poland to date. And so we'd love to hear about that too. But we'll get to that. So first, if you would, please tell us about yourself, introduce yourselves, and tell us about Damaris. We'd love to hear a little bit about your family, if you wouldn't mind, and your experience in Poland, and then how you guys got together, and then finally how you ended up here at Westminster.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a tall order, I know, but yeah.
Right. It's a full. Basically, in a nutshell, my name is Tom Otremba, Damaris, my wife, right next to me. Mm-hmm. And we're Polish nationals, even though Damaris is, but she can say it for herself, but she's half Syrian, half Polish. And been serving in Poland in church planting and pastoral ministry for the past 21 years before coming here.
Mm. And you're a PK, Tom.
I'm a PK and
Okay.
a GPK. Is that how you say it? Grand.
I don't know that one.
Well,
a grandchild of a pastor.
He's a
Right.
4th generation of pastor kids, and
about
I
that?
am a 5th generation.
Wow.
pastor kid.
So you had to point that out that you outrank Tom.
Exactly.
Okay.
Finally,
It's-
I get to say something.
This is gonna be
and there's
difficult.
nothing I can do about it. You know?
No, that number can't change. That's
No,
right.
I know,
That's right.
I know. No, but I would just know that I'm laughing because 2 weeks ago our son was ordained and he was asking us those questions and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to count. I'm like, that's a hard
You just
question.
betrayed our age.
Yeah, so so it's like it's still amazing for us that what about God's faithfulness through generations in our families. It's not about us, truly, but about His faithfulness through
So
generations.
Tom, you're a PK. Damaris also a PK. So your dad's a pastor. Is
My
that
dad was a missionary to Poland
right? Okay. From.
Syria,
Okay.
and then he saw the need of church planting in Poland.
Wow.
God just put just heavy on his heart, so he started a First Presbyterian church in Poland. In the times when there was no Presbyterian
Not
churches.
First Presbyterian Church, the First Presbyterian Church.
Yeah, actually, yes. 30 years ago, over 30 years ago.
Remarkable.
When in a time when it was just amazing. R.C. Sproul and Pink had influence on him. He wrote. Somebody brought him books, I guess from America.
Pink, not the singer from Philadelphia. You mean
No.
the
A.W.
Arthur Pink.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so
okay.
sorry. Yeah, just to make
Just
it
for the
clear.
listener.
Just
you
for
know.
the listener. Yes, yes.
The 1 or 2.
Not a Pink Pantera, but Arthur Pink. Well, he wrote those books. I mean, he read those books, and and it changed his life. I was a young teenager then, and I remember that because we were still in a very unhealthy church during that time, and and something started to change in my father's.
Wow. So you remember the change in your family and your theological environment,
Yes,
to use
yes.
Westminster language,
Yes, of course.
due to that literature.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, the extent of Sproul's influence is just unbelievable.
Yes, yeah. So that my dad started to disciple people, and there was more and more groups in our house, and people were asking him, I mean, why don't you start a church? Because he kind of had to, everything that was taught in the church, the previous church, he had to kind of, taught again, unteach, and so yeah. So God actually sent him to RTS in Jackson, Mississippi, and but before, like 2 years before that, he planted a church. Like I said, and but he felt like he needed more training. He's not ready to be really a pastor because he was, a missionary, and but then God sent him there for, he did, like a 2 years or 3 years
At RTS, Jackson.
at
you're
RTS,
saying,
yeah, and went back to Poland. Continue.
Okay. So
Yeah,
not
and-
only you're fifth generation PK, where Tom is only fourth. You also went to a Reformed seminary before Tom did.
Well, my dad did. Yeah,
Well, your
I
dad
went
did.
to. I went to
But
college.
take
I
it, take
did-
it,
No,
take
I'm
it.
taking it. I actually went to Belhaven University, which was, it
about
was like
that?
and I was in first press in Jackson, Mississippi.
about
So
that?
having
Okay.
Dr. Bird as my pastor and Lincoln Duncan and Derek Thomas for some time, it was
Wow.
like I didn't even know what I had, then.
Yeah.
You know what a huge influence they were on my life.
So that theological transition. I mean, if I can be honest, I can see in the way you're expressing it that was really significant. But the intensity or the meaning of that change still is with you today, and that's a
Yeah.
big deal.
It was. Even the assurance of salvation was a big deal as a teenager. Those are some basic things. Right now when we think about it, but then it was huge. And so it influenced every area of my life.
Yeah.
And
Tom, you also went through a theological transition of similar magnitude. Would you say?
Well, I've went through one end of the spectrum to the other, I guess. When she was attending First Pres in Jackson, Mississippi, I was attending Saddleback Church in Southern California, pastored by Rick Warren. So that's just tells you kind of the difference of environment, theological and ecclesiological environment that I was part of at that time.
Wow.
Yeah,
So how did you get from Saddleback to Westminster?
I just
Step by step.
purchased a plane ticket
Yeah.
and and flew over. No, actually, I did, and I remember Leg Duncan was preaching from Philippians chapter 1, a partnership in the gospel. I really appreciated his sermon, even though the liturgy was a bit different at that time. But I still remember that sermon.
that's when you flew from California and when we were getting engaged. But
That was that. Yeah, I flew in to
yeah.
propose.
yeah.
So was there a sense in which, courting Damaris, you were trying to get your theology up to par?
Ask my dad.
You had the shadow of the father-in-law. That's
No, I was trying to get her to come over to Southern California, and she.
He did.
Well, I didn't realize at that time how much of a submissive fiance at that time and then wife she was, being married to a guy and then actually becoming a member of Saddleback for a season, and persevering a long decade or two before I came on board and became Reformed myself. So
Did you record that?
I think we should scrap
No,
that.
yeah, I know. No. I remember from the time when we got engaged, my dad would sit down with Tomek, and man, they had the longest conversations. I'm not gonna say arguments, but there were discussions.
Lively.
Lively,
discussions.
theological, lively, and it was like that for the next few decades. They always talk through some theological issues. You
Yeah.
know.
both Damaris and my mother-in-law, her mom, were asking if we could take the conversation from the dinner table at Christmas somewhere behind closed doors, so we could continue and to preserve peace in the house. Yeah, no, he really, my father-in-law really made me think. There were a number of influences. I think the first one, so I went to college in the U.S. I went to Liberty University. And one of my professors, I majored in business management, but my business professor was a Presbyterian, older man who became my mentor and a discipler. And he was teaching me things that when I was reading, even as a teenager, book of Romans on my own, I knew there's something in it that I don't fully grasp. And he was the one who was really making me see things as he was discipling me that I've never gotten before. And later on, when we were beginning to church plant in Poland, as I was continuing to have occasional discussions with my father-in-law and being very stubborn about any kind of a system of faith. I just wanted to be a Bible guy, right? Of course, I mean, I was an evangelical. I wanted to be faithful to scriptures, and I wanted to be evangelistic and missional and bring the gospel to
all good things. All good things. Yeah.
To the whole country of Poland. God give me Poland or give me death, without knowing that the guy who said it about Scotland was actually Presbyterian. Didn't know my history well enough. Didn't have all the facts. But I think God sneaked inside of my mind and heart through the back door of something that was called a sonship course. Jack Miller, former professor here, way back, beginning to understand the grace of God. And actually, prior to that, beginning to understand the depths of my depravity, understanding my own sinfulness. So someone invited us to a sonship week organized by, back then it was called the World Harvest Mission, the search right now. And we went to Hungary, the country of Hungary, for a week of sonship. And my mentor there just basically, as he was mentoring us after the sessions, lectures, and group meetings, I started to see how sinful I am. I mean, I knew I was sinful, but
you knew your wife was sinful. That's why we went there. Seriously, he wanted me to get more holy.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was a trap. It was a trap orchestrated by God himself. Well, this phrase, well known probably in the circles, that cheer up, you're a much bigger sinner than you realize. And then the second half of it, cheer up, God's grace is much greater than you'll ever know. So these two truths just really penetrated deep into my heart, and I felt like I was born again a second time, really understanding the gospel. Already a pastor, church planter at that time, but just starting to see the grandeur of the grace of God in a totally different light. And so that put me on a path of discovery of theology. I think I was a pragmatist, so in ministry I care about reaching people. I care about building the church, numbers. Preaching the gospel, numbers. Coming from Saddleback, numbers were the common phrase was, we count people because people count. Well, you've never heard that before.
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah. It's there's a book of Numbers. So that was the famous mantra. There's a book of Numbers in the Bible. So anyway, well, so there's some good half truths in that, but the motivation was really reaching people for Christ in Poland with a simple gospel.
Yeah. So once when we were hanging out at my house, I think one of my kids asked you, Tom, if you could live in any country in the world, where would you live? Or any place in the world, where would you live? When somebody asks that, my mind starts racing. I think, Caribbean, it's a little humid. I think, I'd go north. The fishing's amazing in Scandinavia. You know, my mind just starts to race. I don't know what to say first. Without hesitating, you said Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Your home country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, I take that to be your, and I know when you arrived here, you already arrived with a grand strategy for the kingdom in Poland for not only church planting and faithful ministry and preaching, but theological education. And so we've talked about a lot of things along those lines of ministry. So help our listener understand, in the time that we have, a little bit about Poland as a context, and you too, Damaris, from the missional perspective, church planting perspective, the theological conversion that you've seen. So, culture of Poland, very Catholic country, need for the gospel. Help us appreciate that context and maybe even some of what you think are the priorities would be for your ministry there.
Yeah, I think when I said it, it was just this sense of being on mission. It would be nice to spend some time in Hawaii or somewhere else, for a season. But it's
now,
just
Hawaii
this.
is Westminster. Just say for us.
Right now, this. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Praise the
You're
Lord.
laughing.
yeah, I feel like we're hooked up to an IV, and we're just the riches of the truth of God are being poured into us. But this idea of having a sense of mission, we're here because we're sent by God to fulfill the Great Commission. And it's not only the simplistic gospel, but it's the whole counsel of God. It's of course it's gospel-centered message, but it's not only our favorite doctrines, our favorite truths that we like to go back to, but it's the whole thing. Poland. Yeah, it's a for those who are not exactly familiar with the geography, it's stuck between two very ambitious empires, Russia and Germany, on one and on the other side. It became part of the Christendom early on in the 10th century, when the first Polish duke was baptized into the Christian faith, and became very quickly, being part of the establishment of the Christendom in Central Eastern Europe. When the Reformation was happening, Poland very early on actually picked up on the Reformation, initially from the Lutheran side, later on very quickly from the Reform Swiss side as well. John Alasko is probably the famous international reformer that Poland had. He spent a number of years in Great Britain, pastoring the immigrant churches there in London, corresponded with John Calvin, asked John Calvin to come over and help the Reformation in Poland. With Butzer, had a relationship with Butzer, also with Bullinger. So the Reformation picked up very quickly, but it didn't last long because of the influences of the anti-Trinitarians in Poland that came from Italy. So there was a huge split within the Reform due to the Socinians and the anti-Trinitarians. So the Reformation didn't hold from the inside, and from the outside. Very soon after that, the Jesuits started to establish their schools in Poland, and the kids and the grandkids of the back then Protestants started to attend those schools, and very quickly there was not much left of the Reformation in Poland, sadly. Then another 300 years pass, and the Baptistic movement from Germany starts to infiltrate Poland, and there's some evangelicals, Baptist-like believers that start to get converted, mainly from nominal Lutheranism. Actually, my great grand uncle was one of the first Slavic, Polish/Slavic church leaders who taught at a Baptist seminary in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, and then was the chairman of the Slavic Baptist Union, and a church planter. He actually came for a Baptist Congress to the U.S. In '38, and then the war broke out, and he could not come back. So today's Poland, went through both world wars, 50 years of communism, its regime, and then managed by just grace of God to join EU, join NATO, 20 couple of years ago, and right now, politically, geopolitically, and socially, and economically, is doing very well. Spiritually, is not doing well.
So by grace of God, it's not really joining you because
Well,
EU is not good.
yeah,
That's what you didn't mean that.
Well, I'm saying
like economically, yes, but
economically
but
it's doing
actually,
well,
yeah.
and it's prospering in many different ways. But spiritually, I would say yes in a whole. So
it's 90%, and you should say like it's 90% Catholic or 90. How many?
yeah,
what is the
right now,
percentage?
statistically 90% Roman Catholic, practicing right now 30 to 40%.
Wow.
So it's a bowling pot of both traditional Roman Catholicism, right wing politically, with very left wing secular humanism, LGBTQ plus Western influences from France, Germany. So there are many Catholics who may not even believe in God, who are agnostic, culturally Catholic, but very leftist or very
Interesting.
liberal.
Say how I think the important also percentages like we have like 3% Jehovah's Witness in the country, and compared to the all the evangelicals combined.
Yeah, it's there's it's actually it's 0.3 of 1%
for
of all evangelicals, and same number of Jehovah's Witnesses. So there's as many Jehovah's Witnesses as
not 3%.
No, it's
Okay.
0.3 of 1%. But
Less than a half
third-
percent of the population.
A third of 1% of the whole population are all evangelicals, mostly charismatic, but when you count Baptist, Assembly of God, Evangelical, Free, Methodist Church, the Christian Church, non-denominational church pop-ups, everything is a third of 1%.
That's why Poland. That's why he wants to go back there.
Yeah.
It's a huge need.
So, I mean, but Catholicism is very much part of Polish consciousness, but also, but consciously, in the sense that Poland is proud of being Catholic, is it not?
Oh yeah. It's like being Jew is. I mean, just like the same. Like you're like Arabic, you're Muslim, you're Polish, you're Catholic. I don't know. It's just such a part of the culture for generation that if you actually come and visit other church, it's like a sin.
It's not appreciated.
No. And if somebody becomes a member of like evangelical church, the family disown them and persecutes them basically.
So there's tremendous implicit cultural, but even explicit sort of social pressure to remain Catholic.
It's huge.
Yeah, because it's not just this individualistic faith of yours. It's everything. It's your whole life, your identity, your culture, your job situation, your in-laws, your family, your extended family. It's your environment. It's like a little bit for the U.S. audience. It's like being in Salt Lake City, and if you're not Mormon in Salt Lake City, well, you cannot really. It may be harder for you to get a job, to be part of the community, and it's even more like that in Poland. If you're in the Middle East, in a Muslim country, if you're not Muslim, then you're just not gonna be able to.
A lot of closed doors.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like when you're evangelical, you're treated more like you're part of a cult. Because Roman Catholic, after the communism, the Roman Catholic Church made sure that people would not leave the Catholic Church, so they put a list of cults and they put all the besides cults like Mormons and all of those cults, but they put all the evangelical churches in the same list. So people truly don't know. And people treat a lot of times they think we have like a different religion or different Bible. That's what they. When you share the gospel with them, they treat you like you are a Jehovah's Witness. Because they really think this is the same.
And Catholicism played unlike, as far as I understand, unlike other Eastern European communist countries, Catholicism played a very strong role in the, can I say, liberation or the revolution in Poland.
Yeah,
yeah,
solidarity. Yeah.
There definitely are plus sides to the fact that the Poland is Roman Catholic. John Paul II was an instrumental person in from the religious side of the equation to help get rid of communism in Eastern Europe. Beginning with Poland.
Solidarity movement was hiding in the church, in the physical church buildings. So people, that was freedom. Only in the church buildings they had freedom during the communism.
Yeah, it was
so
a refuge
lot of
place.
things. It was kind of like communists kind of didn't touch those churches inside. So that's why it's just kind of connected with the freedom for the country.
That's very interesting. And as far as I know, again, that is atypical of
Yes.
communist Eastern Europe, where in many cases the church was a wing of government control, or it was an extension of the totalitarian control of all aspects of life. And so Poland is an exception in that case, that, as you're saying, the Roman Catholic Church was a refuge and even sort of a point of pride in the liberation of Poland from communism.
Until now, you see a lot of, I don't know if you watch recent news, but there's a lot of polls and riots inside of Poland for different reasons. But Poland is very conservative. So you would see a lot of men kneeling on the streets and praying with their rosary, and just they're just really, that's the way they were taught for generations. So this is the only way they know how to pray, And so they are very religious in that sense. And they are, I would say they are God-fearer too, but they never heard the true gospel, not inside of the church. And no, they were not encouraged to read the Bible. I think that's the main thing. Like my grandmother, she was Polish. She had a huge Bible in her home. Somebody gave her, they had this Bible for generation. And when the priest came to her house, it was after the World War II, and he saw the Bible, he wanted to take away from her house. Because they did not want people to even have the Bible during that time in her generation. But she did not give him, and thankfully she started to read with her husband, and that's how they got saved. But really, they were never, my mom's generation was not even, they already had a Bible inside of their homes, but it was on the shelf, and they were never encouraged to read because they may misinterpret what the Bible talks about. So this is they don't really know the truth. So they are manipulated by the Bible in the church, in the Catholic Church a lot of times, because the priests only pick, some passage, they read it and then manipulate. Yeah, it's just, that's kind of reality.
It's sort of an ingenious pseudo-Christian spiritual captivity in that sense. So, how do you do ministry in that context? I don't know, what strategic insights, Tom and Damaris, on evangelizing or apologetics, interacting with the culture in an effective way.
Yeah, there are definitely a number of things that you really need to put up front as primary. I think building relationships is huge in Poland because of the distrust, political, religious distrust, because we've been burned so many times by different influences. So building credibility through relationships, having people see you in real life, inviting people over to your house. That was really
a lot of parties in Poland, a lot of grilling parties. Let's just say, we just open our home
and just opening it and having people watch us, see us, how we do life. That was the number one thing that brought the barriers down, and we could have an honest conversation that led to the gospel.
So there's distrust is almost a feature of sort of the Polish mind. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, distrust and it depends on what, because they do love people and they are like very open, but not to everybody, not to every like. Okay, they love
To a
Americans,
belief
which is
system.
interesting.
Yeah.
You know, Poles love. So we use that as a tool because we had a lot of like English camps during the summertime, and people wanted to learn English, and they trust Americans. So when the Americans come and share the gospel, they eat it up. Because it just kind of it's just interesting. But if like I don't know, German or Russian would come, I think they would just
A little more
not listen.
history. A little more history there.
History has
yeah.
influence, in many ways. So I mean, they
it's-
do trust people, but they don't trust
they're
the different.
really relational and then love to hang out and talk and get to know people. It's a distrust towards someone's trying to sell you an ideology.
Being taken
Yeah,
advantage of. Or,
Or like go to
Right.
evangelical church, they
Or-
would be afraid to come.
Or have
and to
you
visit.
become a member of their cult?
Yeah.
See what and even putting their putting their food in the doors of a different church. It's like betraying their mother, religion, and so on.
So like can I add,
Yeah.
like we had a lot of people coming to our house and we study Bible with them, which they were open to study Bible with us. I mean, we would tell them from the beginning, Tomek is a Polish, like he's a pastor. So they ask a lot of questions and then they were actually hungry to study the Bible with us. So they would come to our house and Tomek would disciple them and I would disciple women like for years, but they would not come and visit the church, not even once, because they were afraid, It was okay to study at home, but to actually come and see the service at the church when Tomek would be preaching, it was just like such a scary thought. It was like betrayal.
People and relationships, but not institutions.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like institutionalized religion.
So we
That's
tried,
correct.
like, it
but
was
on the other hand, the institutional life is very important. Like Polish people are very mindful of having something that's established, that's historic, that's credible, that's time proven. That was one of the reasons why the evangelical church has not really had a great success in Poland, because it like came out of nowhere. It doesn't trace its lineage, to the ancient church.
Does not show much historical
Right.
consciousness. So that sort of communicates lack of credibility. You're saying.
Right.
So
You were
it's
going to add
interesting. Like,
something.
no, I was just thinking, like when my parents started a church, one of the reasons they were like they rented a reform building. It was a beautiful building that looked like a Catholic church. So for Catholics to come over, it was safer because most evangelical churches they just look like like kind of.
Very
Empty, kind of like
informal or-
communistic, I don't know, buildings.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they felt more safer to come into this kind of building. Right now, it changed. Okay, I'm talking about our generation. The younger generation is different right now. Like I'm thinking about my son and our daughter. It is a different generation because they are more almost not religious and they're more open to relationships and they are. I mean, this is a different generation coming up. Which
More
is
of the
a lot of
post-religious
hope.
mindset
Yes,
of
it
Western
is.
Europe, maybe.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So there's more hope from that reason.
Okay, you see that
Yeah,
optimistically.
I
Yeah.
do. Because like even when we were church planting in Poland, I was at the same time I was opening our home for youth. So we had a bigger youth group coming to our home than the church plant actually, because the young generation was so open. And they were so vulnerable, and they were so hungry. It was like amazing. They all came from broken families, So maybe that's one of the reasons. But it's just so that's why I'm hopeful. Yeah.
And there's also not that much suspicion toward other, just generally speaking, faith or other Christian options, because Polish people have traveled the world after the fall of communism. Of course, the internet is accessible. Everywhere. Polish people travel a lot. They go and see places. So they've seen a lot of. There was a huge immigration wave from Poland to Great Britain about 10 years ago. So Polish people would be able to visit other churches as well, and after they were coming back, they started to be able to check out different options besides their Roman Catholic faith. So there's a huge potential, I think, for mission, for church planting in Poland now. Mm-hmm.
So
but one more thing that I would add, I think that's instrumental in evangelizing the country of Poland is making the gospel explicit. Because of the environment in the Roman Catholic Church, the Catholic Church, like what happened in Ireland, is really losing their numbers big time. So they're afraid that people will, or like in South America, that people actually will join the Protestant or the Evangelical Church. So they're really trying to change their strategy, and they're basically trying to use. It's the same strategy that the Jesuits were using during the Reformation times, when they were trying to use the Protestant language with the actual all the Roman meaning of those key terms like grace, faith, repentance, and the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think that for some people that there's really a lot of brothers and sisters of Christ inside the Roman Catholic Church because they genuinely had a conversion experience. They heard gospel somewhere. Even the gospels, are being read in the Mass. So the Spirit of God works through the Word of God, and some of them genuinely come to Christ and have genuine faith. They're just not being taught the right things. But they don't see much an option, so they remain in the church. But some people within the Roman Catholic Church in Poland are really doing sort of the game maybe that the previous Pope played, when he really is talking about evangelism and spreading the gospel. So it's like evangelicals, if they don't really research and see the strategy behind it, it's like, well, praise the Lord. This is great. The Catholics are evangelizing now too. Mm-hmm. Well, with what gospel? Mm-hmm. So making sure that we're talking about grace alone and faith alone and Christ alone, going back to the tenets of the Reformation and really digging into what do we mean by grace and faith and the gospel, I think it's huge. Because if you don't get those terms right, for instance, just to give you a clue, a lot of the Catholics in Poland, they would say, "Yeah, we believe just like you guys, just like you evangelicals do, that they were saved by grace through faith in Christ." And but in reality, that grace is something of an enabling grace that helps you to lead a better life. Mm. And faith is really your faithfulness in how well you're doing, being obedient, not just to Christ, but to the commands of the church. And the gospel is sort of this combination of what Christ has potentially accomplished on the cross and what you have to add to it. It still kind of sounds good because there's hope. You can be saved, You can never know if you're saved. So it sounds, gospel lean. It's just a bridge half built. It's still not the biblical gospel. So conveying that clearly, I think it's huge in Poland. Anyway, yeah.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I was just thinking because I'm just the biggest need in Poland is church planting, and I remember when I was a teenager, and my dad and my mom were praying for church planting movement in Poland because it's such a desert. So then when we got married and came back to Poland, that was our prayer too, church planting movement, and we're I don't know, we've been praying for this for so many years, and this and just like in the past 10 years, we realized church planting movement is not going to happen unless we start to train future pastors, future leaders in this country. And so that I was thinking that's why Westminster is such a blessing for us, and that's kind of I was joking it's Hawaii for us, but it's kind of like a preparation for us to we really dream to come back and start something similar there to train future pastors, and it's just and leaders, so the church planting maybe will happen one day, and church multiplication, and. Right now, when we are looking at all the evangelical churches, like in Poland, 30% of Baptist churches don't have a pastor because the pastors are not trained and there is no vision, you know. So there's no even church planting. It's just kind of like even the existing churches don't have enough pastors. Just to kind of give you a picture of what's going on.
No, that's helpful. And it's obviously a unique context. And maybe I think for the American mind, you know, the American mind might not go immediately to Eastern Europe thinking of missions and spiritual need. Maybe we think of post-Christian Western Europe but the way you describe it is really striking. You can look at Poland as a model in so many ways, with the work ethic and the admirable pride of the Polish people and what they've been through and how much Poland has accomplished since the fall of communism. But as you say, you use the word desert, Damaris, which is really striking, but spiritually a very churched place in a way, ecclesiastically, right?
Yeah.
Rich in a way, but no gospel.
No spiritual, exactly.
Yeah, that's really remarkable.
But one day, that's another thing that I'm really hopeful for Poland, because Poland and there's something in the spirit of Polish people that one day find out something is true, and they fight for freedom, for sure, you know, for generations. So I believe that finally, eventually, Poland will have spiritually free people that will fight for this freedom, not only for their own country, but for other countries. So I can see Poland as a sending place, because it's been happening. Whenever we have, like, let's say in Belarus, they needed help because of they were taken over by Russians, and
in the Ukraine, you mean?
No, I said
Belarus.
Belarus. Yeah,
Okay.
Belarus. I'm saying first Belarus. I remember a lot of our friends would go there to like help and be on those streets and strikes, because there were people were fighting for freedom. And then recently with Ukraine, that's why so many Poles are helping Ukrainians, because Ukrainians are fighting for freedom. So it's just something in our, like, in this country's, you know, spirit. That's why the solidarity movement, you know, the communism was destroyed first in Poland. Before, not many people know that it was a year before the Berlin Wall fell down. Poland was the first country, you know. So I just know that there is something in that God can use, you know, and that is very natural in those people. And so that's why I'm hopeful for the future, that it's going to spread eventually. I don't know when, if it's going to be in our generation or in our kids' generation, but I'm really hopeful that this is going to happen one day in Poland, and it would spread to other Eastern European countries and Central Europe and maybe farther.
Just an interesting note that there were some studies done recently on DNA testing of several dozens of corpses of the Polish kings from the 8th to the 13th century, and supposedly they have Scottish descent in them. So this fight for freedom and this I don't know, some kind of genes that maybe trace us to Scotland. I don't know.
Well, so we pray for a lot of Fergusons in Poland, and
that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great, Damaris, the way you say that. A lot of maybe we'll say a common grace insight, or just the unique character of the Polish people, the Polish spirit, and I have to say the gospel potential that you identify is very hopeful, very inspiring. So in closing, let me. I know this has been really inspiring for the listener, but tell us, what would be the primary, if our listener were to reach the end of this episode, and we can invite the listener to pray for Poland. What are the top prayer requests from your point of view?
Yeah. So Damaris mentioned that the biggest need is church planting, and that is definitely the case. But there will never be healthy church planting movement or any kind of anything if we do not have theological education, and if we do not have a place or a seminary to train pastors and church planters for the church planting. So that's been our big thing when we're involved in church planting for 21 years. The last decade, especially the last 5 years, it was such an obvious thing that the number, -1 reason that precedes church planting is a seminary. And that's why we came here. I told Damaris, it would have been probably 3 years ago, my biggest dream is to go and study at Westminster Seminary, Philadelphia, but I know it's never going to happen. And
I said, stop dreaming. I did tell him that.
And,
God knows.
When after becoming Reformed and confessional, and for a season I was a Reformed Baptist, 1689 London Confession of Faith. Eventually became Presbyterian, and I even though I believe the Christ body is much bigger than the Reformed piece of pie in Poland, yet I because of number of influences, the books I've read, the teachers I've listened to, it was the Mecca of the theological education in my mind, being in Poland, and basically, I think for the listener, if you could pray in a nutshell that God would allow us by His grace to transplant Westminster's DNA on the Polish soil, onto the Polish soil, because that is the kind of, like you used the phrase, Nate, a theological environment and this an ecosystem of ministry, of thinking, really of understanding God, who God is, because that's where it starts. How has God revealed Himself, and what is man? Those are those foundational, basic, principia of what the revelation of God shows that the Polish Church needs before we even get to the fall and redemption and everything else. If we do not have an institution in place, not just a course or two, but an institution in place in Poland, in the Polish language, that can train the next generations of pastors and church planters and missionaries and teachers and homeschool moms and so on and so forth. If we don't have that in the Polish language, then it will never take off, or it will be basically something that will maybe last a decade or two, maybe a generation. But what we do need is to have Westminster theological education in the Polish language. And thank God, we didn't know coming here that that's the case, but Westminster here in Philadelphia has this global vision to make their training available in other languages. So we're just awaiting the glorious day. This one, hopefully a few years from now, we're going to have the training available in the Polish language, in order to help establish healthy churches that hold to the fidelity of Scripture and historic orthodoxy and the Reformed faith, biblical faith in the Polish lands, in order for the churches to be healthy, to be faithful to the Scriptures, and to be able to address the contemporary current culture's needs, not only the historic, but the questions that oftentimes the evangelical church is unable to answer, because it just lacks the resources to have a holistic world and life view of what the biblical worldview is all about. Anyway, so it's a mouthful, but
and to ignite that missional spirit that Damaris was talking about, that as well.
Yeah, and if you guys can pray for just protection over our family and our kids, Christian and Eva and his family, and Poliana and her future husband. I think the calling is so heavy on our family, which is evident, but also we just just got protection from the evil one that would try to destroy in any ways, that calling. And so that's my prayer request.
Both tall orders, but the Lord can do it. The Lord can do it. Amen. Yeah. Tom and Damaris, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
it's been
Nate.
a pleasure and very inspiring.
It's a joy, an honor. Thank you, mate. Nate.
You're in our life from the beginning, from the time when you interviewed Tomek.
Can I say that? Actually, when I was applying to Westminster, Nate was back then
For my sins, I was in admissions at the time.
admissions
That's right,
director,
yeah.
and he was
Yeah, but God
the
used
person
you.
with whom the buck stopped. So I was like praying that.
So what you're saying is that the future Poland owes me.
Exactly.
Well,
they do. They
yeah.
do. I mean,
Because
God
I'm remembering
used
you talked about parties and barbecues, and so
Exactly.
I'm coming.
Yes,
I'm coming.
yes.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm
invite.
coming.
We'll
You can
invite.
count
We
on that.
wish. The other thing that you can pray that I wanted to say is just that God would bring just more people that would want to be in our just kind of a support group that would want to move to Poland and help us start that. We just need that God would just give us the right people and protect us from the wolves, and people that would join us.
It's a huge undertaking. We need a whole team of people.
So Nate, you can be the first one.
think about it.
Officially, we're inviting you and
think
your
about
family.
it. I am the host of a podcast,
Your
so I have a
wife is
lot to
from
do already,
Eastern
but-
Europe. Come on. Yes.
Thanks again. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Nate.
Thank you,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
This is the Westminster Podcast.
This has been a podcast of Westminster Media. Westminster Media is a ministry of Westminster Theological Seminary. If you would like to join us in our mission to train specialists in the Bible to proclaim the whole counsel of God for Christ and His global church, please visit www.wts.edu/donate. This podcast was hosted by Nate Shannon and edited by Brandon McLean Smith.